Welcome to Getting Unstuck, Part 4, Life Areas, Values, and Activities. As always, if you haven't already reviewed Parts 1 through 3 of the Getting Unstuck workshop, it's recommended to go back and review those before continuing forward with Part 4, as this section will continue to build off of the ideas discussed in the previous sections. So particularly, Part 3 of the workshop focused on activity monitoring and the importance of recognizing the changes to your behavior that have come about as a result of depression. And today we're going to start talking about some changes you can make to your behavior to help reduce depressive symptoms. To begin brainstorming different activities that we might want to add into our daily schedule in an effort to reduce depressive symptoms, it's first helpful to break down behavior into 5 different parts, known as life areas. So these are exactly as they sound like, areas of your life in which you might engage in different behaviors. So this gives us a better sense of, as we're trying to brainstorm activities, sort of thinking about breaking it into these 5 different areas, and then specifically then thinking about what's important to me in that area of my life helps to make the brainstormed activities a bit more specific. So first life area will be relationships, which refers to the part of your life that involves family, friends, and/or your romantic partner. Second life area is education and career. So this life area refers to time spent in developing your education and your career, which can include formal practices like completing a homework assignment, but could also be informal, like reading books on a particular topic or anything else like that. Third life area would be recreation and interests. So this area refers to leisure time when you can have fun and/or relax and/or both. It also may include doing things for others, such as volunteering. Fourth life area is mind, body, spirituality, which refers to physical and mental health, as well as religion and/or spirituality. Then the fifth life area is daily responsibilities. This area refers to obligations and responsibilities to others and to your belongings. And as we go through, you'll see different examples of values that might be associated with these different life areas, as well as activities that someone with specific values in each life area might want to engage. So shifting our attention now to values. Values are essentially who and what's important to you in each life area. So people are most likely going to have multiple values associated with each life area, and these values can give you a sense of different activities that might be important for you to try and engage in, as well as some activities that you might recognize maybe you used to engage in and are no longer doing as a result of depression, or some new activities that maybe are a little bit inconsistent with your values that you're doing now that you're depressed that maybe you weren't doing before. So when thinking about values, it's also important to make a distinction between values and goals. And in this instance, we're going to talk about goals almost in the same sense as activities, with values being a bit bigger and more overarching than the specific goals or activities. You might think of our value as going west. And maybe a specific goal within heading west from Philadelphia would be to make it to Colorado. So again, in living consistently with that value of going west, you might start from Philadelphia, start traveling west. Then when you get to Colorado, you would have met that specific goal. However, the question would be, have you met that specific value of going west by the time you get to Colorado? Or can you continue to head west? And the answer would be you can continue to head west. And then let's say you go past Colorado and you end up going all the way around the entire world and come back to Philadelphia. Even at that point, if we were to ask, have you achieved that value of going west? The answer would still be no. You can still go further west. So again, we'll kind of view values and activities in that same kind of format, that the activity might be a specific goal of something you want to try and do on like a daily or weekly, monthly basis, whereas the value would be more of the guiding principle of who you want to be that tells you what activities or goals you might want to set for yourself. And we all will have values in each life area, and these values guide our behavior and help us determine what activities are going to be most important, what goals we want to set in the short term. So now we're going to go through each life area one at a time and give an example of a value and some associated activities within that value for each life area. And obviously your values may overlap somewhat with what will be discussed in this video. Some of your values may be different. It's again going to be important to individualize this process for yourself, which is why we've included a blank life area, values, and activities worksheet for you to complete on your own. So you can use these examples as a guide, but again, it's important to be able to recognize and individualize this for yourself. So what's important to me, what are my values, and what activities would I want to implement? Beginning with life area 1, relationships. One example of a value in the area of relationships is being an attentive and caring friend. So some associated activities with being an attentive and caring friend could be calling a friend once per week. Could be texting your friend at whatever specific time interval makes the most sense to you. Another activity would be asking my friend about his or her week, maybe on that weekly phone call. There can be sort of more specifics of what you do on that phone call, asking about their week, offering support if they're having a hard time, something like that. The second life area of education and career, one example of a value would be improving school performance and satisfaction. So a couple of associated activities with this value of improving school performance and satisfaction can be creating a schedule for completing schoolwork. Which essentially the way that that would be connected is that by creating a schedule, you might be able to improve your ability to keep up with assignments. And by keeping up with assignments better, your school performance would likely improve. Another associated activity with this value is studying for at least 30 minutes once a day. And again, you'll see throughout a lot of these examples that they are broken down in terms of specific amounts of time or frequency, and it's going to be important for you as well when completing your own inventory to try and be as specific as possible with these different activities. Because again, the value is going to be more general, improving school performance. The activities or the goals are going to be much more specific. And so in this instance, we have studying for at least 30 minutes once a day, which may seem low to you, may seem high. It's all about figuring out what's going to work for you. So our third life area of recreation and interests, one potential value in that area would be being active. So associated activities with being active, first could be going to the gym and going on the treadmill for 30 minutes, 3 times a week. Another might be to take a walk outside for whatever length of time you would deem appropriate for yourself and at whatever frequency. So could be take a walk outside for 30 minutes twice a week. Could be take a walk outside for 10 minutes once a day. Again, up to you. Depends where you would want to start. Another activity associated with being active could be to play basketball on Saturday. Whether this is something that you want to organize with friends or anything like that. And also just helps to recognize you can also combine different values in different life areas. So maybe you want to play basketball with a friend, could be a goal associated with maybe you value in the area of relationships, staying in touch with friends, so you reach out to a friend, schedule a basketball game with that friend on Saturday. Kind of hitting both of those life areas, both values in one activity of playing basketball with that friend, staying connected and being active. So then moving on to the fourth life area of mind, body, and spirituality. An example of a value in this area would be being physically healthy. And so some activities that would be associated with this value of being physically healthy could be to go to a doctor for a physical or a checkup. And that could be like every 6 months, once a year, depending. More specific activities that are associated with this value, more specific things that maybe you could implement on a day-by-day basis could be to eat fruit or vegetables every day. And again, in the interest of being as specific as possible, you might have a specific amount that you want to eat of a specific fruit or vegetable each day. Then another activity could be to take medication as prescribed each day, which again may seem like something we take for granted, but as we had talked about in section 3, the activity monitoring can be important just to recognize what are the things I'm already doing and give yourself a bit of credit for that. So if that's something you're already doing, great. If not, can be certainly associated with a value of being physically healthy to keep up with medication or other practices that you specifically may need to follow that are consistent with your value of being healthy. Then coming to our final life area of daily responsibilities, an example of a value here is taking care of your belongings. Belongings/environment, we'll say. So first activity is tidying up your room by picking items up off of the floor. And this, again, you could set a frequency of like, I want to do that once a week. So maybe every Saturday morning, I'm going to go through my room and make sure I pick things up off the floor. Another activity could be washing your clothes or doing laundry. And again, can set this at a regular frequency, once or twice a week, specific day or night that you determine. And another activity, vacuuming or mopping the floor of your room. So after picking up the items, and maybe you could do those two in conjunction. And again, with daily responsibilities, we can also make this the connection to what we discussed in section 3 of activity monitoring, where we talked about activities that are important and enjoyable, sometimes both, sometimes neither, sometimes one or the other. With daily responsibilities, a lot of times these are going to be activities that are not going to be the most enjoyable, but might be really important to you. If it is important to you to live in a clean environment, then having these activities on your schedule on a daily, weekly basis can be really helpful in just sort of creating more of a sense of accomplishment on a daily basis. So that will conclude section 4 of the Getting Unstuck workshop. So after this section, what we'd recommend is to utilize the blank life areas, values, and activities inventory worksheet that has been provided along with this video. And so go through and try to determine your own values, 1 or 2 values in each life area, and some activities that, whether they're things that you're already doing, things maybe that have fallen off recently, brainstorm some ideas of some activities you might want to engage in on a more regular basis. And then set yourself a goal of maybe implementing 1 activity per life area over the course of the next week. And just trying to keep track of that, maybe continuing to use the activity monitoring worksheet that was provided with section 3. So again, brainstorming is one part by completing the inventory and then trying to implement some of those specific activities over the course of the next week while keeping track of that and seeing how you're doing. And also, as is included in the activity monitoring form, seeing if there's any impact or change on your mood by having more of these activities that are important to you in your daily schedule.